back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today I'm going to go over a story titled, Epic Shame and Shock of Discovering a List of Guys My Girlfriend Effed or Blown. And a shout out to Mr. Arkansas for sending this story. And guys, this story, I'm telling you right now, disclaimer, is both very entertaining and graphic. So just be prepared for this. I'm going to be speaking in code quite a bit just to get away with it on YouTube. This is about a guy who posted his experience from several years ago of a girlfriend he had around the time of college. And let's just say this girl liked to get frisky. This girl liked to get frisky and adventurous everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. And while at the time the guy thought he was the king, it turns out he was the jester because this girl was getting frisky and adventurous with everybody upon finding her list. And that'd be an entertaining one to go over here, guys, making the point that if you were the gal that, it's one thing if she's with you and she's adventurous, that's all fun. But if there's a point that's borderline, like she's got some issues, if you will, you better be careful, better watch out, because you may not be the only one. And of course, once a cheater, always a cheater. And this story here definitely does prove that. So, starts off, says here, this might sound a bit pathetic, but I got some therapeutic benefit by telling this emotional, tragic story of my life. Please know that all this narrative is accurate and truthful. Well, you know what? I actually do believe this. I've read a lot of stories that are questionable, but, truth is stranger than fiction, and there are a lot of interesting folk in this world. It says, my girlfriend from high school and college, that time period, and I had sex quite often. Many times, like 4 times a day. I'm not exaggerating, and this was not an outlier type of event, such as a few days in a row one summer. The schedule of fornication took place well over 18 months before any change may have been observed. I had girlfriends during that time period in college, and we were hooking up 3 or 4 times a day, sometimes more than that. So yes, that's not at all impossible when you're 19, 20 years old and young, dumb, and full of, what. Well, to elaborate, I worked at a hotel in my suburban Boston town. I was a lifeguard for the hotel pool and health club. I worked a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. full-time shift. Almost no guests came to the pool or health club at that time period, maybe 5 or 6 over a 16-hour day that it operated. My girlfriend was an administrative assistant at a hospital. Here we go. She lived at home with her parents, as did I. She'd get ready for work, and she could dress quite hot if she wanted to. And she'd go out of her way to push the limit, as in hemming in her leather mini skirt even higher, not just once, but twice, heels, nails, etc. Okay, so she's a hottie. She's young, in her prime, definitely likes to show her parts off. Well, as a boyfriend, I wouldn't want my girl dressing like that. But she'd get up really early and come visit me at the hotel at like 6:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and we'd hook up. This involved a lot of quickies. We couldn't get into it really too intensely because this was a public place and risky for me, considering I'd lose my job. Well, as he said, like 6:30 in the morning, nobody's there. Yeah, you're going to have some people working out at the gym and stuff like that, but he snuck off to the closet, and had a little fun with her, and that was the end of it. We'd go to the bench in the health exercise area, surrounded on 3 sides with wall mirrors, no joke, and get it on almost every day. Well, here's a little thing here. Usually those fitness facilities and hotels have cameras. Now, maybe not back when he was younger, but, I also stand behind the front desk, and she would service me sometimes. More than once, a hotel guest would come in for a morning swim and come to the front desk of the pool facility to grab towels, and she was taking care of me while I was talking to a guest, or maintenance worker would stop by, and I'd be talking to them and doing my business, if you will, in her mouth. Okay, behind the desk at the pool at the gym, that's the guy who had sign-up sheets and towels and all that. And I know this sounds like movie material, but for real, some days it was hard to keep up. Saturdays was a break because I could sleep in late, and then we only had enough time during the day 3 times or 2 times. It was a pain due to the frequency. I look back on all this in my life, and now I think I was completely reckless in this codependent relationship. You were young, you were in college age or whatever. Again, I was there, and you were getting as much as you could with a hot young girl that wanted to, she was basically, her behavior is like a nympho. But those are girls you most certainly always wear protection with, and you don't make those your girlfriends. Those are friends with benefits, as he's going to learn. So that was the morning routine. I get off usually around 2 p.m., sometimes early if I worked a split shift, 6 hours in the morning, 6 hours at the close, drive to the hospital where she worked, and we'd hook up in the parking lot in the car. Always a BJ at lunch, get a sandwich for lunch, and then she'd climb on top. After work, she was home early too, because she went into the office early after visiting me at the pool health club. I was out by 2 p.m. or noon, depending on the schedule, so I'd go to her house and we'd have a longer hookup. And then we'd sort of meet up later that night. She'd drive to my house and we'd do the whole Netflix and chill equivalent back then. But we'd hook up quietly with my mother in the kitchen in the next room. It was exhausting sometimes. Many times in college when, my girlfriend, when I had a couple summers, was home, what do you think we were doing on the couch? My mom was like a couple rooms away. And we acted like we were so slick. She knew what we were doing. We'd go to the basement to play pool. The door of the basement with stairs would be open, but we would silently christen our pool table and would roll the balls around the table to make it appear like we were innocently taking shots. 5-ball off the 9-ball socket, side pocket, funny instance where she would say 8-ball, cough, cough, side pocket. The second she said the word ball, I'm spewing a fountain of, and she was sucking me off and stopping to call it the 8-ball. She laughed so hard she peed herself a bit. Oh, to be young and wild and all that. So, guys, this is all fun and all with a friends with benefits type, but this is the type you wouldn't want as your girlfriend, given how he says that she works at the hospital, hint, hint, dresses provocatively quite often. But then again, you'd think, how does she have time for other guys? She's always with him hooking up. Well, that's some of the backstory here. She gave me a BJ at Fenway Park with about 220,000 spectators watching the game. A fan would see 10 inches or less from her bobbing head on my you-know-what, and we even hooked up at a traffic light one time. Yep, a fully operational municipal traffic light. I stopped the truck. I was driving at the red light. I told her to take off her you-know-what, and she said, why? I just said, hurry up. So she did, and she's looking at me completely puzzled. The moment they were off, I slammed the truck in park, whipped out my shorts, down my shorts, and my you-know-what was out, and pumped her. Go back into the driver's seat, the light turns green, and she was like, holy crap, what the F did you just do? And we drove away. That's how often we had you-know-what. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of you guys that have gotten roadhead at some point in time, and if it's dark out and the stoplight, not surprising. Well, here's the kicker. Okay, now we're starting to get into where he's about to realize there's more to his girl than he realized. She went camping with her family one time, and I took care of the 2 family dogs while they were away. As a courtesy, no big deal. I'd already been suspicious and sadly believing her lies. Once we had hooked up and I could feel something inside her rubbing against my you-know-what. But her facial expressions indicated she was too focused on enjoying the pounding that she was getting. I pulled out and started exploring down there with my fingers, and I felt a foreign object. She still thought I was inside for her pleasure, but I was playing part of the gyno. I slid in and out, and lo and behold, there was a condom obviously used. Ugh. She's walking around with a used condom in there. Now some of you we can all understand how many people are saying BS to this, but you never know. The problem with that situation is that she was on the pill and had been coming freely in her 6 months into what looked like a 4-year relationship. I was relishing the look of horror in her face. She denied it and said it was mine, that we used it when she was on her period. And while that was true, I used a condom 2 or 3 times in 1 year probably. I personally had never forgotten to take a condom off after you-know-what. Never. I was too afraid that my love juice would go up the tubes. Moreover, I hadn't worn a condom in 3 months. She denied and denied, and I just went along with it because I was getting laid or blown 4 times a day on average. Smack! Dude, your girl you find a condom in there down south, that's beyond disgusting. And I tell you something, but he's like, okay, because he's getting, like you said, he's getting laid or blown 4 times a day. I jump back to when I was taking care of the family dogs, which was soon after the mysterious condom incident. I took my suspicions into her room and just looked around. I eased open one of her dresser drawers, moved clothes around, and saw a small folded piece of paper. Yes, I pondered that I was invading her privacy, and I paused and thought about that, because I consider myself an honest person. Dude, after finding that, she's lucky you're even talking to her. You have every right to explore. But then I said to myself, well, if not, there's nothing there, then there's nothing there I have not seen before. I opened her drawer, and there was nothing to note. I opened the next drawer below, and there was a junk drawer. There was a letter that she had written to a classmate from school who lived out of state. Glancing at the letter, she wrote in the letter she was seeing another guy, and she had broken up with me. That was news to me. She's exchanging letters and mentioned that she broke up with you and she's seeing somebody else. Well, that's whose condom to be found. I discovered some evidence that she was smoking pot, as there was a pipe and residue. Of course, I had no idea she was smoking. Then there was a folded piece of paper of notebook paper. I opened it and saw a list of guys' names, most of whom I knew, and apparently it was her fuck list. All the guys she slept with, one form or another. One guy's name she couldn't remember. Her reputation was so well known, except somehow I didn't know. My friends didn't share the information with me. Fortunately, my friends were not on her list. We were at a house party together, lots of people. She keeps a list. Guys she fully sleeps with, and the guys she services with her mouth. And I guess the point is she can't remember. Now, I know there was a movie, I think, called Reality Bites. I believe that's it. I think it's Janine Garofalo's character, who was one. This kind of sounds familiar, and some people are going to say, this is bullshit, he's stealing this from Reality Bites. Believe me, Janine Garofalo in Reality Bites could have been the only girl that had a fucking list. Yeah. Yeah, it's over, dude. Where there's smoke, there's fire. She's behaving like this, clearly, At some point, she walked away with her girlfriends later, and later I found that she was getting hit on by another guy, already knocked up one gal, and got her into the bedroom where they hooked up. Later, we walked home to my house. We went to hook up on the couch. I pulled her drawers off and got a whiff of something. I said, that sort of smells like love juice. But anyhow, we hooked up, but later when I found out, and I found her list, I confronted her. I made her tell me the sordid details of each encounter. They were going to hook up, and he smelled something that smelled like love juice, but he still proceeded. What the fuck? Yeah, smack. Ugh. Of course, she was ashamed and mortified, and she relieved that awful feeling of getting caught each story that she had to tell me. Why I didn't just walk away? Again, I was a codependent relationship. I had no self-esteem, but I was 21 and horny as fuck all the time. It was free loving, and the way I looked at it from then going forward. We took turns being jerks to one another, like a power struggle. She slept over at a guy's house one night and called to tell me that she just had with a guy who was taking a shower when she called. Awful, awful experience for me. Why didn't you break up with her, bonehead? But again, he was just saying he was enjoying the free hooking up. This is why these types are friends with benefits. Do you think she's going to be able to have a normal relationship with anybody? No. It's like Dante and fucking Clerks finding out, 37. This was traumatic for me. Even today, many years later, and have gone by, her nymphousness, if that's a word, is plain as day. I say this because when in high school, we used to drive immediately to my aunt's house after school. My aunt was at work. We go inside and fool around, BJ, hook up, whatever. Jump ahead 2 years, she effed this kid from the list, a year younger than us, and that kid grew up and inherited his grandfather's house and moved into it as an adult. My aunt lived at 11 Main Street, it's a pseudonym, and the kid she hooked up with is now an adult and lives at 15 Main Street. And she got married a couple of times and, of course, randomly bought a home at 13 Main Street. Notice he said she's been married a couple of times. So every day she wakes up and can look outside at the neighbors on 11 Main Street and can say, yeah, I effed in that house. And can also look outside in the other direction at the neighbor's house on 15 Main Street and say, did it there too? Wow, I redefine promiscuity in this town. I no longer have animosity or bitterness towards her. I think if I ran to her at the store somewhere, my response would be like, holy shit, long time no see. I'm glad we did not last. I wish I would have acted differently, especially when I chose to be a jerk to her, only out of spite for discovering her behavior. Smack! Dude, she was cheating on you. She was your girlfriend. But she was lots of guys' girlfriend, apparently. But if I had respect for myself, I would have walked away from her without so much of an explanation, and I could have avoided so much more pain. The shame of being mortified upon finding out, I could hardly avoid. I don't forget my past. I don't dwell on it. Thanks for reading. Holy crap. I told you guys this was graphic, but I think this is just one of these guys that just wants to share his story with the world for whatever reason. Who knows? Maybe he did see her, but he didn't tell us. It's like a lot of guys that write me in for my main channel, Strong Successful Male, which you should all join if you haven't already. So what do we learn from this story? If a girl's that freaky and that horny all the time and everything, that I'd tell you something, keep your eyes peeled. And someone like that, best to keep as a friends with benefits, nothing more. That happened obviously a while ago, but this would be the modern day Tinderellas. So you can't turn an HO into a housewife or have one as a girlfriend. So although many parts are very questionable and frankly disgusting, crazier things can happen. And I'm sure there are guys out there have had girlfriends that like to hook up several times a day, particularly when you're that young and you got the time. Well, most of us were that way at some point. But there you go. But the whole finding the condom thing down there, in a way, I hope he's making that part because it's just fucking disgusting. But a girl like this, I can actually see not realizing she has something down there. Ugh, nasty. But anyway, guys, we can all learn from this crazy ass story. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Guys, have you ever experienced a gal or girlfriend or girlie hooking up with this frisky? Let's hear about it in the comment section because I'm sure some of you have, in varying degrees, dealt with a gal like this. And I'm sure you learned she ain't relationship material. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.